Welcome back. In this video, I'm going to provide this session's update to the eraser exercise. In session 3, we had a fairly significant change to the eraser exercise. As always happens when that occurs, some people are going to love it, while others dislike the change, and still others will be somewhere in the middle. Regardless of where you fall on that continuum, just know that it's perfectly fine. Remember, the overall premise of this course is to help you find which methods are the best fit for you. So if you hit a session where the methods seem horrible for you, it's a cause to rejoice, not a reason to be concerned. You've discovered something that doesn't work for you at the moment. That can be nearly as valuable as discovering what is working best for you right now, because it helps you to know what not to waste time on. Also, remember a couple of other points about this. First, that a method that doesn't work for you right now may very well start working great for you in the future, and vice versa. Whatever your experience is with a method, that is just your experience with it right now. And remember that it can take as long as a week to really get into a method and have it work for you. It might be frustrating for days before it finally kicks in and starts working great. If you're wondering how this works for the weeks of the course that have 2 sessions, the answer is that we're adjusting for that by keeping methods relatively similar to each other. This session, you'll be both continuing on familiar ground that you're already used to, as well as starting to branch out a bit. As with the last session, we're going to stay with a 3-part 15-minute, 15-minute, 30-minute format. For the first 15 minutes, I want you to kind of combine what you did during the first and second 15-minute periods in session 3. During that session, for the first 15 minutes, you continued to focus on the breath and the sensations in your nasal passages and around your nostrils. During the second 15 minutes, you focused on sensations on the outside of your nose. For both of these, you could select a wider or more tightly focused area and pay attention to and track sensations just there, depending upon what worked best for you. For this session, for the first 15 minutes, I want you to pay attention to all of those areas at once. So, to do your best I want you to focus on your breath, the sensations on the outside of your nose, the sensations on the inside of your nose, and the sensations around your nostrils all at the same time. I know this might sound like a bit of a challenge, to say the least, like it's an awful lot to be keeping track of all at once. Remember not to stress yourself out or try to do too much. Again, this is not a competition. Just let your attention widen out to include watching the sensations in all of these areas at once, while, if possible, also tracking your breath. If you relax into it, this will be a very fun exercise for you. You can kind of make a game out of it to see how much you can sense across all of these areas at a given time. You definitely want to have this playful kind of attitude with it, not a serious, I'm going to not reach fundamental well-being if I get this wrong, kind of attitude. If it's too much for you and you just can't get yourself not to stress out, no big deal. Just pick your favorite one of the 3 and do that instead. Just go back to watching the breath or paying attention to the sensations inside or outside your nose or whatever. Again, there's no reason to stress yourself out. If you think you have to begin this exercise by scaling back a little bit like that, and you did fine with last week's eraser exercise, you might try just starting with, tracking your breath and the sensations inside the nose. When you have that established, though, during your meditation session, then you want to start trying to add in the nostrils. And if you get them comfortably added in and are paying attention to that whole nasal air pathway, both your inside of your nasal passages and the nostrils, then you want to start seeing if you can add in some sensations from the outside of your nose, or maybe go the other way. Start with the outside of your nose and then try to add in your nostrils with the air moving in and out of them, and then finally the inside of your nasal passages. In other words, if it's just too stressful to do the exercise all at once right off the bat, if you can't get to that fun and playful place with it, then try to just build it up in stages and see if you can get to a complete version of it that way. A major change is coming for the eraser exercise next session, and this session is laying the groundwork for it. During the first 15 minutes, we're giving you some practice at putting your attention on and detecting sensations over a larger and slightly more complex area of your body, but one whose parts are all still comfortable for you and familiar. For the second 15 minutes, I want you to shift your attention away from your breath and nose and so on, and I want you to pay attention to a small 1-inch long, 1/2-inch wide strip between your upper lip and nostrils. So 1 inch this way and a 1/2 inch this way is a good way to think about that. It can be anywhere in that region of your upper lip as long as it's about that size. And as you put your attention there, try to notice as many different sensations coming and going as you can. This might even include sensations caused by the breath flowing over it. That's perfectly fine, but this is not an exercise where you have to track your breath. This area is close to the part of your body that we've been working with, but still distinctly different from it, and that's what we want. We want you to branch out a bit into a new area of the body, but not have it be so far that it's initially too much of a challenge or too difficult. Something that should be becoming increasingly obvious to you as you're watching the sensations that arise is that all of them eventually also pass away. That's something important for you to be aware of. Feel free to try to prove me wrong if you'd like. If you think you've found a sensation that doesn't eventually go away, just put your attention on it and see. It will, and if it doesn't, it's likely because you're putting your attention at a higher level than you could be. For example, you might be putting your attention at the level of the temperature of the air coming into contact with your skin. Maybe right now, this seems like something that's persistent and not really changing for you. Like it's always the same temperature, always the same sensation, and so on. By bringing your attention to that sensation and really focusing on it, you'll most likely see, even if it takes you a while to get there, that it is actually comprised of many other finer sensations that are, in fact, always coming and going and changing. The realization that there is nothing that your senses detect that is completely permanent and unchanging is both an important level of observation and an important level of understanding for you to reach. So it's, one you should start working towards as you do these exercises if you haven't noticed it already. As we've mentioned with other things, all we're really doing here is letting our brain know that we want more details to rise to our conscious awareness. Things that we've previously been communicating that we don't want to be bothered with for most, if not all, of our lives. Now, we want to start noticing them. We want to start to have our brain and nervous system know that we want to notice them. We do that by beginning to try to pay attention to them, and the rest works out for itself. For the final 30 minutes, continue to focus on that 1 inch long, 1/2 inch strip high part of the skin that's right above your lip and below your nose. And guess what I want you to do while you're paying attention to it? Bet you can't guess. Yeah, you're never going to guess. Of course, you're going to label things that go away, right? You're going to pay attention to the sensations and label sensations that go away, gone or ended or stopped or whatever, just as we've been doing up to this point in the second half of basically every eraser that you've done so far. Again, as always, you can feel free to use multiple labels, change what you've been using to label over time and how you've been doing it, and even not use words, but make some sort of mental note or some other way of noting it. And remember, all sensations are fair game at this point. Okay, that's it for this session's modification of the eraser exercise. Remember to get started with this new version today. You're doing great. Keep up the amazing work and progress that you're making, and I'll see you next time.